It is week 13 in the National Football League. Welcome into NFL Daily, folks. My name is Jack Sperry, your host here. And over about the next hour or so, we're going to be breaking down the latest around the National Football League, getting you guys ready for week 13, which of course starts tonight with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. Now, what is on today's show? First, we're going to go over the latest news and rumors surrounding the National Football League. We're going to be talking about Von Miller, his latest legal troubles. Going to let you know what's going on in Dallas with his domestic assault charge here, the warrant that has been put out for his arrest here, as well as how that might affect him playing for the rest of the 2023 NFL season. We're also going to be talking about the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. Should they keep him as their starting quarterback for 2024, or should they draft Caleb Williams or Drake May at the top of the 2024 NFL draft? We'll be talking about that. Also, Zach Ertz, the former Cardinals tight end, former Eagles tight end as well, cut by the Cardinals today. He was waived, and now he's going to be looking to sign with a contender here in the coming days. Going to let you know which teams that he could potentially be landing at right now. Aaron Rodgers is at 21-day window to be brought off IR. His practice window has been open there in New York. Is there actually a chance that he could be returning to the field after tearing his Achilles in week 1? We'll be discussing that as well. And of course, the Chicago Bears, we'll be talking about them again because they've been talking with a big name, high-profile coaching candidate here that could be their next head coach if they decide to fire Matt Eberflus. And speaking of head coaches, later in today's show, I'm going to be listing 5 coaches around the National Football League that I think deserve a chance to be a head coach in this league. We don't really know how many vacancies there's going to be in the National Football League this offseason, but I think there's 5 names of guys that really do deserve the chance. Make sure you stick around to the end of today's live stream because I'm going to be letting you know the top 5 head coaching candidates in the National Football League, at least in my opinion. And then, of course, every single week we do a mailbag here, a live Q&A. So if you want to get your question on the mailbag today, make sure you use hashtag NFL or Super Chat down there in the live chat right now. And get your question on today's show. If you want to have your voice heard, if you've got an NFL take, if you've got a question that you want me to answer about the NFL draft or about the NFL in general, make sure you use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your question on today's show. And today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. So, we want to get right into the content today, guys. So make sure right now you go ahead and like today's video, make sure you get in there, all these different things. We really do appreciate all of you guys. Remember, Tex, we're doing the shortened version of Prize Picks here. It's not a full read here. So on today's show, we got the latest NFL news and rumors coming up here in just 1 second. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon and make sure you click that subscribe button to join us for our live show every single week. We do them every single Thursday to get you guys ready for the week ahead in the National Football League. So, Mr. Tex, are we feeling good to get into this first segment here? All right, he wants 10 seconds here to get ready. So we'll give him 10 seconds here, people. First up here, we're going to go over the latest NFL news and rumors right here in the National Football League. What the heck is going on with Von Miller? We're going to be breaking down his current legal troubles in Dallas, Texas here. Going to be breaking down what those troubles are and then also what it means for his 2023 season and if he's actually going to be able to play. And then also we're going to be shifting our focus to Chicago. Should they keep Justin Fields as their quarterback for the start of the 2024 campaign or should they draft a rookie quarterback? And then also, finally, Zach Ertz, released by the Cardinals today. We're going to be breaking down his options and some potential teams that could be interested in adding the dynamic receiving threat at tight end. And before we get into today's news and rumors right here on NFL Daily, make sure you click that subscribe button right now for free and daily NFL content. We try to keep you guys updated on everything going around the National Football League. So do me a favor right now, kick off today's show by clicking that subscribe button. Now let's get into the Von Miller story here, where an arrest warrant for Bills edge rusher Von Miller has been issued in Dallas, Texas for domestic assault. So, let's go over what's going on right here and what kind of the story is when it comes to Von Miller. So, Wednesday morning, there was a domestic incident against Miller's pregnant girlfriend that was reported in Dallas, Texas. When the police arrived, Miller was not there. And right now, Miller and his girlfriend, what has allegedly happened here is that they got into a very intense verbal spat, and then it escalated where the girlfriend had to be treated for minor injuries. Nothing major. It doesn't appear like anything with the baby is troubling there, but it definitely seems like Von Miller could be in a bit of trouble here, especially with the domestic issue here. The Buffalo Bills did send out an official statement regarding the issue today. He says they say this morning, "We were made aware of an incident involving Von Miller. We are in the process of gathering more information and will have no further comment at this point." So really right now, Von Miller's 2023 season could absolutely be in jeopardy. Not only is he potentially going to be in trouble with the law here, but the NFL and the Bills respectively could suspend him for the rest of the 2023 campaign. Von Miller did just sign a massive 6-year, $120 million contract last season with the Buffalo Bills. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this saga unfolds here over the next several days and potentially even months when it comes to the superstar edge rusher. Now, coming up here, I'm going to be talking about, should the Chicago Bears keep Justin Fields here for 2024, or should they trade him away and draft his replacement? Going to let you know what I think here in just a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. If you're looking for a way to spice up your game days this NFL season, you can get started with Prize Picks. And what Prize Picks is that it's a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And you might be asking yourselves, Jack, how does that even work, daily fantasy sports? Well, here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, and you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So my entry for Sunday here in Week 13, I got the more on Kenny Pickett and more on Pat Freiermuth. Those guys had a really nice connection last week against the Bengals. They're going to be playing against the Cardinals this week, so I think the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to be doing pretty nicely this weekend. I got the more on those guys. And then also Tyreek Hill. I mean, right now he's sitting at 0.5 touchdowns this weekend going up against the Washington Commanders. I think he gets more than that, and I think he gets at least 1 touchdown in that football game. You can check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. You can even get your picks in before NFL Week 13 gets underway. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for deposit match up to $100 today. So now let's discuss the Chicago Bears quarterback situation here, where the big question is here, should the the Bears keep Justin Fields as their starting quarterback heading into the 2024 season, or should they potentially go and get a quarterback very high in the 2024 NFL draft? You look at the current draft order right now. Of course, the Carolina Panthers traded their first-round pick this year to the Chicago Bears in exchange for the rights to last year's number 1 overall pick, where they, of course, took Bryce Young. So right now, Chicago currently holds both the number 1 overall pick and the number 4 overall pick. And after Carolina just fired Frank Reich after just 11 weeks in the head coaching position, I think it's definitely likely that Chicago has that number 1 overall spot locked up yet again here heading into the 2024 offseason. And, they have a couple options that they have at their disposal here. Option number 1 for them is to trade away Justin Fields to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Atlanta Falcons, one of those other teams that would be interested in a guy like Justin Fields, and then draft Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is an extremely talented, pretty much a generational talent at the quarterback position, at least in my personal opinion. When I look at him on film, I look at somebody that could be a Patrick Mahomes type talent, and I think that he could carry an NFL offense on day one. But the other option that the Bears have at their disposal here is that Justin Fields, who's shown some good things this year, you keep him as the quarterback, and then you draft Marvin Harrison Jr., the stud wide receiver, one of the best wide receiver prospects we have seen come out of the NFL draft in the last decade plus, maybe ever. And if he's available there at number 1 overall, and you can pair him with Justin Fields and DJ Moore, I mean, you got some serious weapons there in Chicago to work with if you go down this route. Justin Fields so far this year with a completion percentage of 64.4, not bad at all. He's just under 200 yards passing per game. Total touchdowns is up to 13, and he's actually protected the football pretty decently in terms of throwing interceptions this year. Only 6 in 8 games played to this point. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Chicago does here at the quarterback position. But let me know what you would do down there in the comments section. Who would you want to be your quarterback if you were the Chicago Bears heading into 2024? Would you want Justin Fields? Type JF. Or if you'd rather have Caleb Williams, give me a CW down there in the comments section. Now let's shift to Zach Ertz, who was released by the Arizona Cardinals here on Thursday. And according to reports, Ertz is going to be looking to get his second Super Bowl ring with a contender here in the not-so-distant future here. So there's definitely some early favorites to land Zach Ertz. So let's break those down for you right here on NFL Daily. Number 1, the Baltimore Ravens. And by the way, these are in no particular order. The Baltimore Ravens just lost Mark Andrews for the season. This is a team that is arguably the most statistically dominant team on both sides of the football so far this year. Lamar Jackson's balling out. They got some great receiving weapons. The defense led by Mike McDonald, their defensive coordinator, a top head coaching candidate this year. I mean, this team is freaking loaded. Jadeveon Clowney's having a career year this year on the edge. This is a stacked football team, and they're in desperate need of another tight end here. Isaiah Likely is their current starter. He's fine, but adding somebody that's a true receiving threat here in Zach Ertz would certainly help out Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense. Another option here is the Miami Dolphins, and you can see why Zach Ertz would want to play in Mike McDaniel's offense here. It's just so explosive. It's so dynamic. You know that they would be using Zach Ertz in the right way. Right now they're dealing with some injuries at the tight end position, and Zach Ertz would be the number 1 guy in their rotation if he decides to go to Miami. Another contender that he could potentially go to here is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they have Evan Ingram. He's a very good player, but I do think that they would definitely like to add a guy like Zach Ertz, give them some versatility there on offense for Trevor Lawrence to exploit down the stretch. And then finally, why not? Come back to Philly, baby. I know Dallas Goedert, he's coming back from injury, all these different things, but man, seeing Zach Ertz back in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform would certainly be cool to see. And, I know that the Eagles don't need any help right now. I mean, this team is rolling right now, but getting Zach Ertz back would certainly be a nice story for the Philadelphia Eagles and their fans. Now, I do have a couple of other news stories that I want to cover here in just a second. But first, if you're enjoying today's content, if you're enjoying today's video, make sure you click that thumbs up icon and like today's show. It tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other NFL fans like yourselves. So if you're an NFL Daily Real one, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. So let's go over those final news items right now, where there's some injury news around the league, and there's also some head coaching news around the league. Let's start with the Chicago Bears once again, where the Bears are reportedly interested in Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan Wolverines head coach, to make the jump back to the National Football League here and be the next Bears head coach. I think this would be a great fit. I think that Jim Harbaugh is a great culture builder. I think he did a great job with the San Francisco 49ers when he was here in the NFL. And I think that right now maybe Jim Harbaugh, after all the suspensions and all this different stuff with the NCAA and the Big Ten this year, that maybe he's a little bit tired of the whole college thing, and he's willing to once again make that jump to the National Football League. And why not the Bears, man? I think it's a fantastic fit. And then also, let's shift to Cleveland here, where Joe Flacco just signed a couple of weeks ago. It looks like that he is going to be potentially starting for the Browns this week. The Browns are right in the middle of a playoff push. They are currently the 6th seed in the AFC playoff picture, with Deshaun Watson out for the season and Dorian Thompson-Robinson dealing with an injury as well. It looks like Flacco is going to get the starting nod. He's been taking first-team reps in practice this week. So it seems like Flacco, kind of a Ravens legend here, is going to be starting for his former AFC North rival here for the rest of the 2023 campaign. And now speaking of older quarterbacks here, Aaron Rodgers, his 21-day window to come off the injured reserve has now been open. He's practicing in a limited fashion there with the New York Jets. And this is nothing short of remarkable, man. This guy is almost 40 years old, right? This guy is old for a quarterback, and he just tore his Achilles in week 1. This guy's already back playing on the field in a limited fashion. That's absolutely incredible. Aaron Rodgers has been saying that he's eyeing a December 24th return to the field. That is if the Jets are still in the playoff hunt. It might be easier said than done with Tim Boyle as your quarterback, but if they're right there, Aaron Rodgers could make a return to the field. But predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Aaron Rodgers play again here in 2023? Give me a yes or give me a no down there in the comments section to let me know what you guys think. And that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button down below for more NFL news and rumors content throughout the week. All right, so that's one segment in the bag here, Mr. Tex. Make sure you guys use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your question on today's show. I've already been seeing a lot of questions come in. So, Tex, let me know when we're good to roll here. Yeah, let's hit the who you got. So make sure you guys get your questions in, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. If you want to get a question on today's mailbag, it's going to be coming up here in about 2 to 3 minutes. So make sure you get those hashtag NFL questions in. Now let's talk about tonight's Thursday night football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. I think that Seattle might be a little bit of an overrated football team at this point in the year. I think their pass rush isn't all that great. They did have that massive sack performance against the New York Giants, which has completely inflated their sack numbers. But, you look at the stats for Seattle, they're not particularly great in a whole lot of categories. The defense, they have a pretty nice secondary. They can hit big plays with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba's been nice, but no Kenneth Walker tonight, so I don't expect them to have much of a run game. So I do think the Cowboys are going to come out on top here. Give me a DAL or a SEA down there in the comments section. Ed Robbins thinks that Seattle's going to win tonight. Junior Estrada says Dallas 38, Seahawks 35, high-scoring affair. If I have to give a score prediction tonight, I'd probably go 31. I'll go 31-20 Cowboys win. That'll be my pick for tonight, guys. So make sure you guys let me know down there in the chat, Dallas or Seattle. I'll give you a quick shout-out here. Lore says he wants Dallas. Vince says Dallas easily. I do think Dallas has the advantage here, man. I think that they got more talent here. I think that they're more healthy at this point, outside of Trayvon Diggs, of course. But I just think that they're the better football team. I think the Seahawks are kind of fraudulent at this point in the season. So I think Dallas, if they can take care of their business, they're going to come away victors here on Thursday Night Football. Fanatics on this one, yeah. Are we good, Mr. Tex? All right, he's telling me we got enough questions, so let's jump right into it right now. The Week 13 NFL Daily Mailbag coming at you right now. It's Week 13 in the National Football League, and today I am answering your questions from all the latest topics in the National Football League right now. Welcome into NFL Daily. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and make sure you click that subscribe button right now to join the most interactive NFL community here on YouTube. We got over 300,000 subscribers here at Chat Sports. Join our family today. Click that subscribe button. You can even get your questions on next week's mailbag. All right, now let's start with Lore here. He says, what should the Packers do if they lose to the Chiefs? So I'm not exactly sure what this question means. What should they do, right? They just got to continue to try to win, right? They just got to, they're right on the precipice here. They're just a half game out of the NFC playoff picture here. There's a couple of teams that are really knocking on the door here. Green Bay is one of them. The Los Angeles Rams are one of them, and the New Orleans Saints. All those guys are just a half game behind the Minnesota Vikings for that 7th spot in the NFC playoff picture. So if the Packers lose this weekend, they're far from out, right? So they just got to keep on winning. They got to keep trusting Jordan Love for the rest of the season. And then you just got to evaluate the quarterback position at the end of the year. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Jordan Love so far over the last 2 weeks. He's looked fantastic. Then we got one from Junior Estrada here. He says, NFL, or hashtag NFL, should the Patriots draft Drake May or Jaden Daniels. So as we sit right now, the New England Patriots sit at the number 3 overall spot in the 2024 NFL Draft. So the Bears would be picking 1 because they have Carolina's pick. The number 2 is the Arizona Cardinals, and, I don't really think that we know what they're going to do when it comes to Kyler Murray. He's got a big contract, all these different things. They might want to restart with like a Drake May or a Caleb Williams, whoever doesn't go 1. But at the same time, Kyler is somebody that's been an MVP candidate in this league. Do they really want to get rid of that? So, the Patriots would certainly have an opportunity to draft probably either one of these guys. If I were the Bears at number 1, I would probably draft Caleb Williams. So, and then if the Cardinals don't take May, then I think you got to take May at number 3 personally. I think Jaden Daniels is a very intriguing prospect. He's going to be somebody that's going to be right there for the Heisman this year. But I think that Drake May is just such a polished quarterback prospect already. He's got the size, he's got the arm, he's got the mobility that you look for. I don't quite put Drake May in the same category of player as Caleb Williams at this point. But if you're somebody that doesn't like the attitude or the way that Caleb Williams approaches things, then Drake May might be your guy. And Drake May seems like a New England Patriot to me. So I would say Drake May. Then we got one from Mr. Incredible here. It says, where do you think Ben Johnson will go next year if he decides to leave Detroit? So we're actually going to be talking about this later in today's live show. But I think that Los Angeles, the Chargers, is going to be a really interesting one. Try saying no to Justin Herbert. That's all I'm going to say. The Buffalo Bills, if they fire Sean McDermott, let's say they miss the playoffs with that talented roster, I could see them going and getting Ben Johnson with Josh Allen as their quarterback. And maybe a dark horse here is Tampa Bay. They got some talent on the defensive side of the ball. They got some good receivers. I think that he would have the opportunity to draft his quarterback, the quarterback that he wants from this very loaded draft class if he becomes the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think he wants to go to like a Carolina. That's been the latest rumor. He said no to them last year. So I just don't understand what in the situation would have changed to make him change his mind there. I don't think he'll be in Carolina. But Tampa's one to look for, Los Angeles, and then also Buffalo, I think, are probably the favorites at this point. Now, predict it for me down there in the comments section. Where will Ben Johnson be coaching next year? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from Cameron here. It says, do you think 11-6 will be enough for the Bills to clinch a wild card spot if Dolphins clinch the East before week 18? Absolutely. Yes, 11-6 will get you there. 10-7 probably gets you there, right? I believe that the Miami Dolphins, correct me if I'm wrong here, but did the Dolphins make the playoffs at 9-8 last year? I'm pretty sure that they did. 10-7 is usually that benchmark to make the playoffs in the National Football League. So 11-6 would almost certainly get you there. But if you get to 10-7, even if you're the Bills, I think you get that 7 or 6 spot, especially with the Browns, right? The Browns are going to fall down a bit, I think, with Deshaun Watson out for the season and Joe Flacco stepping in. I just don't see that offense being too productive for the rest of the year. So the Bills certainly have an opportunity to step up their game here. And I actually do think the Bills will do this. I think the Bills will streak towards the end of the season, get on a good hot run here, and they're going to be a dangerous wild card team once we get to the playoffs this year. That's my prediction. All right, now coming up here, I got more NFL questions to break down with you guys. But first, check out our friends at Fanatics if you're looking for a brand new hat to represent your favorite ball club here in the National Football League. Go to chatsports.com/NFL hats to get your hat today. And listen, man, Fanatics, these guys got a bunch of different designs for all 32 NFL football teams. They got a style that you like, and they like the brim style that you like as well. If you like it curved, if you like it flat, if you like it semi-flat, they got all these different types of styles for you guys to choose from. So if you're in need of a lucky hat to cheer on your favorite NFL team for the rest of this season, go to chatsports.com/NFL hats. They also make great gifts, guys, for Christmas. So if you got an NFL fan in your life that you think could use a new hat in their life, go to chatsports.com/NFL hats and get your new hat today. Then we got one from Vince here. He says, what should the Cardinals do in the draft if they end up with the first or second pick? Trade down, Marvin Harrison Jr., draft a quarterback, and trade Kyler Murray? So this is a really good question, Vince. I'm really glad that you asked this because I wanted to talk about this. And it's going to be tough to to trade Kyler Murray, in my opinion. Next year, his cap hit, if he's traded for the team that trades for him, is going to be like $46 million. That's a lot of money, man, and I'm just not sure how many teams are going to want to put that level of investment in a quarterback that just had a major ACL tear, right? Especially somebody that relies on his legs. So is it even feasible for the Cardinals to trade him? I really don't know the answer to that question. I think it's going to depend on which teams are really looking for a new quarterback, how much money those teams have to spend on a quarterback, because $46 additional to your payroll is a lot of money. So if I'd have to guess right now, I would say that the Cardinals probably keep Kyler Murray and they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State if they have the opportunity. The reason why I say that is that Marvin Harrison Jr., he is something else when it comes to a deep threat receiver. If you guys watched the Michigan-Ohio State game last weekend, I mean, goodness gracious, that one-handed catch while he's being dragged down to the dirt, I mean, the DPI, and he still comes down with the catch. I mean, that's what he can do for Kyler Murray. And Kyler's got one of the best deep balls in the National Football League, and I just think that combination could be for Kyler what his combination with DeAndre Hopkins was for so many years. And really, if you're a guy like Kyler who likes to throw outside the numbers, not so much over the middle, you need a dominant outside receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, like a Marvin Harrison Jr. So if I'm the Cardinals and I have an opportunity to get Maserati Marv in a Cardinals uniform, I'm pulling the trigger and I'm bringing him to the desert. Now we got a question from Jim Carey fan here. It says, are the Steelers for real or are they frauds? So right now the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 7-4. Number 5 seed in the AFC playoff picture. And they just beat the Cincinnati Bengals 16-10 and just put up their first 400-plus yard performance since 2020. So they just fired their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, and immediately this offense looks like a really good offense again. I mean, the run game was going. Jaylen Warren is a young stud. Najee Harris had a nice week last week. Kenny Pickett was throwing darts down the field to guys like Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. So Steelers fans, and I know this because I'm the Steelers host here, Steelers fans are feeling extremely optimistic for the rest of this season. But you look at the aggregate numbers right now, and the Steelers really are ranking pretty low in the offensive category. So this is what I'll say right now. I think that the Steelers need to prove themselves over the next couple weeks to kind of prove that last week against the Bengals, it wasn't just a flash in the pan. But I actually think that they're for real, man. Mike Tomlin's one of the best head coaches in the league right now, in my opinion. The defense hasn't given up more than 20 points since week 4. So this defense is rolling. And then also, with Matt Canada gone, that offense can at least be league average now, right? Or at least a little bit below average. And I do think that the Steelers, with their ability to win close games, I think that they're a playoff team. And they're arguably a borderline top 10 team in the National Football League if this offense continues to improve with Matt Canada out of the picture. But let me know what you guys think about the Pittsburgh Steelers down there in the comments section. Are they for real or are they frauds? Type R if you think that they're real, or type F if you think that they're frauds, and they'll fizzle out. Another question from Vince says, do you think that the Steelers or Texans can make some noise in January if they add J.J. Watt? So I don't think J.J. Watt's coming back, man. As the Steelers host here, I've done a lot of videos that have done really well on our Steelers channel in regards to J.J. Watt potentially coming back. But it really does seem like J.J. is content in retirement. And I really don't think that he would come back unless, T.J. Watt got hurt or some big name got hurt and he just really felt that itch. But I don't see that happening personally. I think if he comes back, he's going to play for the Steelers, not the Texans, because I think he would want to play with his brother. And he said himself, he's a full-blown Yinzer now. He's a full-blown Steelers fan. So I think that he would want to play for Mike Tomlin, play in a new city. So if he comes back, I do think it's the Steelers. But if you're asking me if I think he comes back, I would have to say no. Then we got one from Not Dana White here. It says, in your opinion, is Caleb Williams or Drake May the best quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft? Now, I think I'm going to say Caleb Williams here, but I will have a little bit of a caveat here. Caleb Williams, in terms of on-field stuff and just the way that he plays football, he's the best quarterback prospect I've ever seen on film as an NFL draft evaluator. Better than Trevor Lawrence. He's right up there with Joe Burrow. his grade is going to be just about as high as I give a person in terms of on-field talent. He's got incredible footwork. He can see the field. He can make full field progressions. He's generally accurate. He can throw it 70 yards. He can throw it from any arm angle. He's an incredible playmaker. He can run with the football. There's nothing on the football field that Caleb Williams can't do. But the negative on Caleb Williams is the personality. He kind of reminds me of like Bo Callahan, if you guys have watched the movie Draft Day, where he's incredibly talented, but like he's the type of guy where his teammates won't go to his birthday party, right? And it's just, is that a deal breaker for some of these teams or not? Are you okay with a guy that's probably not going to be a true leader in your locker room if he is a Mahomes-type talent? Or do you want to go with more of the traditional leader-type quarterback in Drake May, who's really good in his own right? He's still good in the pocket. He has good footwork. He's generally accurate. He's got a big arm. He's still mobile, and he's by what I've heard, a stand-up gentleman. So it really does depend what your flavor is. For me, if I have to just go based on what the film says, Caleb Williams is the superior quarterback. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Caleb Williams or Drake May? If you had the choice between the two, which one are you taking? Type CW for Caleb Williams or DM for Drake May. And that'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. Really do appreciate every single one of you that stuck with me to the end. Make sure you click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join us for NFL Daily Live on Thursdays to potentially get your question on next week's mailbag. All right, 2 segments in the books here, guys. Coming up here, don't go anywhere. We got NFL head coaches. 5 coaches in the NFL that I think need to be head coaches next year. We don't know how many vacancies there's going to be. We know for sure there's going to be 2, right? Las Vegas and Carolina. My suspicion is that it's going to be somewhere in the 7 to 8 range, depending on which teams make the playoffs, which teams don't. Los Angeles looks like Brandon Staley is definitely on the hot seat. Maybe another loss, and the Chargers are going to kick him out the door. So coming up here, 5 NFL coaches that need to be head coaches right here in the National Football League. Thank you guys so much for responding to the question here. So Steven Smith says he wants Drake May. So does Robbie Thedford says Drake May. Mason number 8 says Caleb Williams. Ed Robbins says Drake May. And then Vince says Caleb Williams. And I think that that's a super interesting discussion because Drake May is a legitimate like top 5 quarterback prospect. But as a player, he's not on the same level of a Caleb Williams, right? But, you know, how important is the personality aspect to you? Do you want somebody that's going to be everybody's friend in the locker room, that's going to be the leader of the group, or is talent more important, right? And that's really going to be the debate here this spring is what's more important, on-field talent or on-field talent plus personality. So I really do think it's going to be an interesting discussion. And depending on which team it is, and assuming Caleb actually comes out in the draft, it's going to be an interesting discussion to have, man. I can't wait to have it over the next several months. All right, coming up here, 5 NFL coaches that need to be head coaches for the 2024 NFL season. Tex, are we good to go? All right, let's get into this next segment coming at you right now. Today on NFL Daily, I am going to break down 5 NFL coaches that I think need to be given a chance to become NFL head coaches for the 2024 NFL offseason. The NFL coaching carousel is right around the corner, and I think these 5 gentlemen need a shot to be the head man at an NFL franchise. Now, before I get into my list here, go ahead and get into the comments section and let me know your guy down there in the comments. Who's the best NFL head coaching candidate this cycle? Is it Ben Johnson? Is it Brian Flores? Is it somebody else? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys think. All right, so now let's start with my number 5 head coaching candidate here, which is Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. And I have been such a fan of what Slowick has been able to do with the Houston Texans offense with kind of a limited talent tree, what I would say. A lot of people didn't expect much out of the Texans this year. I mean, it was seen more as a true rebuild in Houston, and DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Slowick have completely changed life in Houston here in just one season. Now, the offensive scheme that he runs is a third-generation West Coast offense, and to kind of put that in layman's terms, it's like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, lots of motion, lots of receiver motion at the snap, lots of crossing routes, lots of flood concepts, lots of under-center play action stuff that's really quarterback-friendly. And we've seen that so far this year with the production of the Houston Texans offense. And if you would have told me these would be the numbers for the Texans offense this year preseason, I would have said no way that they're in the top 10 in points per game, yards per play, yards per game, and third down offense. I would have said no way with the rookie quarterback and no way with this offensive line. But Slowick and the Texans have made it work, specifically with C.J. Stroud, the rookie quarterback out of the Ohio State University here, who has put up some of the best, if not the best rookie season we have ever seen from a quarterback in this league. 63.7 completion percentage, almost 300 yards passing per game. That is an incredible number for 19 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. What he has been able to do with this moldable rookie is something that every NFL team should want, especially those NFL teams that are looking to develop a young NFL quarterback in the years to come. If you're a team that's going to be drafting a quarterback in this year's NFL draft, you need to be considering Bobby Slowick as your next head coach. And when it comes to the teams that he fits with right now, the best fits for Bobby Slowick, I'll say the New England Patriots, because it looks like they're going to have to bring in somebody. No, the Las Vegas Raiders, I don't think Aiden O'Connell is their guy. We got the Washington Commanders. I think that he'd do really, really well with Sam Howell moving forward. The Chicago Bears, especially if they draft a new quarterback, number 1 overall. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are almost assuredly going to be moving off of Baker Mayfield in the 2024 offseason. Could see him with any one of these teams, and I definitely think Bobby Slowick is a name you need to be watching out for. Number 4 on my list, shifting to the defensive side of the ball, Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, nearly landed the Denver Broncos job last year. Didn't get it, went to Sean Payton. And the defensive scheme that Dan Quinn likes to run is a hybrid Seattle 3. So, of course, he was a part of like the Legion of Boom era there in Seattle, where it was like strict cover 3 match. We're running it. Go ahead and try to beat it. And you just couldn't, because they had the perfect personnel to run that type of defense. But over the years, right, Dan Quinn has evolved his scheme to involve more pressure packages, more simulated pressures, more man coverage. And that's almost exactly what the Dallas Cowboys run. They put a lot of bodies at the line of scrimmage. They confuse the hell out of quarterbacks, and they play man coverage on the back end. That's a really good defensive system for their personnel, and he knows it. So he's somebody that's a really good culture builder. He's somebody that he's going to come in and demand the respect and command the respect of an NFL locker room day one. And he's somebody that can really take advantage of high-end defensive talent on the defensive side of the ball. So some of the best fits here for Dan Quinn, in my opinion, the Buffalo Bills, if they decide to fire Sean McDermott. The Los Angeles Chargers is an interesting one because Justin Herbert is an established NFL quarterback. You don't necessarily need to bring in an offensive guy to develop him because he's already there. The Washington Commanders is a fun one to try to develop that defense there in Washington. And then also the New Orleans Saints, if they decide to fire Dennis Allen. They have some really good defensive talent there. I could definitely see Dan Quinn going into his former division there, the NFC South. Again, he used to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. That would certainly be a storyline to watch if he becomes the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Now, coming up here, I got my top 3 coaching candidates in the National Football League here for the 2024 season. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. We could take a look at my Prize Picks this week here. I got the more on Kenny Pickett passing yards, the more on Pat Freiermuth receiving yards. Freiermuth had 120 yards receiving last week. I think that Kenny Pickett and Pat Freiermuth continue to get their connection cooking this week against the Arizona Cardinals. And then Tyreek Hill, I think this is probably the easiest one out of the entire week. 0.5 total touchdowns this week against the Washington Commanders. I think he gets into the end zone at least one time. So give me the more on all of these, and you can check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match of $100 today. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players on the Prize Picks app and choose whether they'll go more or less in that Prize Picks category. It's super easy, and you can get your picks in a matter of 60 seconds. So get your picks in now before Week 13 in the National Football League. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. So another NFL head coaching candidate here is not in the NFL right now, but he's a head coach in college. That's right, Jim Harbaugh, the Wolverines head coach. And listen, I think that Jim Harbaugh is absolutely sick of the college game at this point with all the suspensions and all the politics and all this different stuff that he's had to deal with. I just think that he's done with college ball. I think he's ready for a new challenge. Going back to the National Football League, of course, he was so close to the pinnacle of this game, right? He went to that Super Bowl against his brother, John Harbaugh, there in that Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick and Ray Lewis's final year and Joe Flacco. We all remember that Superdome Super Bowl, and he came so close, and he just fell short. And I just think that if he could go to a team here in the National Football League and get something going, I just think that'd be so awesome to see. He's done a fantastic job there in Michigan, but I think the time is right for him to make the move to the National Football League. Now, in terms of what teams will be looking for in terms of Jim Harbaugh and what he can bring to an organization, it's going to be the teams that have talent to win right now, but they need a culture leader to kind of put them over the edge and usher in a new era of winning there for their specific franchises. So teams like the Buffalo Bills make sense. The Los Angeles Chargers make a lot of sense. Those teams, I think, have the talent to win right now. The Las Vegas Raiders is an interesting one to me because they got guys like Devontae Adams, Max Crosby. They've got some really good pieces there in Las Vegas. It'd be a little bit more of a rebuild there. Same thing with Chicago. The rumors have said that Chicago would be interested in Harbaugh, so keep your eye on that potential fit. And then the New Orleans Saints as well. Got some talent on that roster. Could be a nice fit for Harbaugh coming back to the National Football League. Now predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Jim Harbaugh leave Michigan for the NFL this offseason? Type yes or type no. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Number 2 on my list, and this is, I thought about putting him number 1, but man, I think Brian Flores is one of the best coaches, period, in the National Football League. I think that he's shown off his talent with the Minnesota Vikings this year, and he's my number 2 guy on my list right now. Brian Flores, man, I am such a big fan of what he brings to the table there in Minnesota. I was a big fan of his when he was in Miami as well, and he runs a very unique cover zero based defense. So we talk about putting guys up at the line of scrimmage. Brian Flores puts everybody up there, and he trusts his corners and safeties and nickelbacks. He loves to put 3 safeties out there to kind of do their thing and hold up in one-on-one coverage. They also like to back out of it. It's very unique. They like to put a lot of disguises in there, and I think it's one of the best, if not the best, schemed-up defense in the National Football League today. Any team would be lucky to have this defense as part of their defensive structure, and all you have to do is look at the improvement for the Minnesota Vikings defensively this year, despite having pretty much the same amount of talent as last year, but they're giving up 5 less points per game. They're giving up nearly a yard less per play, so they're giving up way less big plays than they did last year under Ed Donatel. And the yards per game, you really see that. I mean, almost 70 points less per game? Absolutely fantastic. They went from one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league, in 2022 to an admirable, a decent at least defense here in 2023. They're turning the ball over. They're confusing different quarterbacks. This defense has been completely transformed under Brian Flores. And my take on him is that he's one of the best coaches in this league, period. And he's a great leader of men. He's a great defensive mind. He's somebody that commands the respect of players in the locker room. There is no reason other than he's suing the NFL to not hire this guy. This guy is an absolutely fantastic head coaching prospect, and where he fits is teams that need both a great defensive mind and they need a culture builder. Okay, so if you're a team that has had some defensive struggles and needs to turn it around right away, and then you've had a head coaching culture there that just hasn't been fantastic, bring in somebody like Brian Flores, and I guarantee you, Brian Flores is going to fix it. So some of the best fits here: Buffalo. Another fit here because Brian Flores, I think, would probably turn them into Super Bowl contenders right away. New England is a fun one because they already run kind of a similar defense there, so it'd be a super easy transition for Flores to go to New England. Also, he has a relationship with Robert Kraft, being a former defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick. Los Angeles is another one. You got Justin Herbert as your quarterback. I think that Los Angeles would turn it around so quickly under Brian Flores. And then Washington and New Orleans are some other options for Flores to consider as well. Now, I got my number one candidate. I think you guys can guess who it is here coming up here. But make sure you like today's video if you're enjoying today's show. It really does do wonders here to help us get out to new audiences here. What it does is it tells the YouTube algorithm to push our videos out to new audiences here. So if you would do me a favor, click that thumbs up icon. I'd greatly appreciate it. Then we get to my number one head coaching candidate here, and it's the number one guy on pretty much everybody's list right now, and for good reason. It's offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson. And he was the number one guy last year, took a number of interviews to become the head coach of a bunch of different teams, and said no to all of them. And he went back to Detroit, waiting for the right opportunity. He runs a modern pro-style offense. He studied under guys like Sean Payton, Andy Reid, those kinds of guys, and you can really see the shades of those offenses. But, I really consider this guy on the level of the offensive minds that have dominated the league over the last decade plus. The Andy Reids of the world, the Kyle Shanahans of the world, the Sean McVays. This guy is one of those special types of offensive coordinators, and any team would be lucky to have him. You take a look at the numbers for Detroit this season. Everything is above average, and most of it is in the top 10. 7th in points per game, 3rd in yards per play, so they're explosive, even with Jared Goff as their quarterback, and you got 2nd in yards per game at 405.5. God damn, this is good offense, man. And Ben Johnson is the reason why. He's built an incredible offensive line. He does incredible stuff with the motions. He does a great job getting numbers advantage in the run game, and he does a great job at getting guys open in the passing game. There's nothing about Ben Johnson to dislike in terms of being an offensive play caller. He's already a top 10, a borderline top 5 offensive play caller in the league today. So where Johnson fits here is any team that needs a brilliant offensive mind, which is everybody, by the way, to kind of take them to the next level. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up going. But I think that there's 3 teams to really be keeping your eye on here. Number one is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers, right? The opportunity to work with a guy like Justin Herbert, who's a top 5 quarterback talent in this league, it's just something that Ben Johnson's just not going to get every day, right? He might have been holding out for that opportunity to pair with a quarterback like Justin Herbert. So I think that if they fire Brandon Staley, and at this point, it looks incredibly likely that they will, I think Ben Johnson is probably the number one guy on their list. And I think Ben Johnson would probably love to go to the City of Angels and turn around the Chargers organization. Number 2, the Buffalo Bills. If they fire Sean McDermott, that's going to be a highly covetable job. I mean, you got a guy in Josh Allen, a top 5 quarterback talent. You got a defense that's really good as well, right? You got a bunch of talent there. You got Stephon Diggs. Hopefully he doesn't request a trade this offseason. But, this is definitely a Super Bowl caliber roster. If Ben Johnson goes there and works his magic here, I think that they would be Super Bowl bound here with Ben Johnson as their head coach. And then one to kind of keep your eye on is kind of a dark horse here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I think that they have some nice pieces here. I really do. You got Chris Godwin, right? You could bring back Mike Evans in free agency if you wanted to. They've got some really nice defensive pieces as well. So Ben Johnson can kind of work his magic on the offense, bring in a good defensive coordinator, and then he also, and this is the real kicker, he would have an opportunity to draft his quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft, and this draft is loaded with high-end quarterback talent. So I think that this option here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, would be a pretty enticing one for Ben Johnson. But listen, if that Los Angeles Chargers job is there for the taking, I think it's going to be hard for him to say no to Justin Herbert. But who'd I miss? Let me know down there in the comments section. Which coach deserves a shot to be an NFL head coach next season? Do you think Eric Bieniemy? Do you think Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, is getting some buzz right now? Let me know down there in the comments section. Who did I miss? Let me know your guy down there in the comments section. All right, that'll be it for me today, NFL fans. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of today's show. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more NFL news and rumors content throughout the NFL season. All right, that's going to be it for today's live show. I really do appreciate everybody that stuck around with us to the end. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more NFL news and rumors content throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, and throughout all the years here at Chat Sports. We got you covered 24/7, 365, man. We really do appreciate all of your support. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys later. And as always, peace, guys.